Grammy Award-winning rapper Lil Durk has been arrested in Florida on federal charges that he paid for the attempted 2022 revenge of rapper Quando Rondo at a Los Angeles gas station that resulted in the demise of Rondo's cousin. Durk, 32, is charged with conspiracy to commit murder for hire in the slaying of Robinson, 24, who was slayed on August 19, 2022, according to the FBI affidavit. Five other members of Durk's Chicago-based rap collection, Only the Family, or OTF, has also been arrested, and at least two more arrests may be forthcoming according to court's documents, and that have been filed. Durk was arrested in South Florida and has attempted to flee the country, the FBI says. Let's listen to this report.
Rapper Lil Durk has been arrested and charged with a murder-for-hire plot. The Chicago native, whose real name is Dirk Banks, was arrested in Florida by the U.S. Marshal Service. The 32-year-old's arrest comes as five other people in Chicago were arrested in connection with the investigation. According to the complaint, Banks and his co-conspirators allegedly worked together to, quote, track, stalk, and attempt to murder a target at a Los Angeles gas station, firing at least 18 rounds into the person's vehicle, striking and killing a passenger in the car. Banks made his first court appearance this afternoon in Miami. Banks' lawyer asked for privacy after leaving court, telling ABC, quote, "We will not be commenting at this time." I want to bring in ABC News contributor and Sirius XM radio host Mike Muse and ABC News contributor and criminal defense attorney Shauna Lloyd for more on all of this. And Shauna, I want to start with you on this. The charges against these men include conspiracy to commit murder for hire and use of a machine gun in a violent crime resulting in a death. The most serious charge carries up to the death penalty if convicted. I know it's early, but how do you see this playing out?
Alex, this is a very serious charge. Conspiracy is one of those charges that all it takes is voluntary knowledge. So as long as you had any conversation with two or more about something, a plan to further this plot for hire, and it resulted in a death, you are looking at those either life imprisonment and up to the death penalty. So it does not take a lot to be convicted of conspiracy charges. Now, they do have to show that he was voluntarily a part of this conspiracy, and they're going to have to show that he knew what the end goal of the conspiracy is. And so that's the burden. But conspiracy does not take as much as other charges. So this is a very serious crime.
Mike, funny because he won a Grammy earlier this year for Best Melodic Rap Performance for his song All My Life, which featured J. Cole. He has also been nominated 3 times and was a featured performer on Drake's Laugh Now, Cry Later. The U.S. Attorney of Los Angeles called the S event a cold-blooded and that M-word. The S event occurred in the open at a gas station at a busy intersection, endangering many others in the area. Violent crime of this sort is devastating to our community, and we have zero tolerance for those who perpetrate such callous acts of violence. The FBI agent said in her affidavit that the OTF member engaged in violence, including the M-word and assault, at the direction of Banks, and to maintain their status in OTF.
One of the things that strikes me about this is Durk has long touted himself as the voice, especially from Chicago. He's noted his connection to the trenches, but also he's had a kind of a stellar 2024, appearing on some hit TV shows and new music on the way. He just celebrated a birthday. So I'm curious. I mean, how is the music and entertainment world processing this news? I mean, that had to be a huge shock.
Yeah, it was very much a huge shock, and particularly coming off at the Grammys when he had the song All My Life with J. Cole, which is pretty much one of his biggest singles that he's had to date, that had incredible commercial success. Lil Durk is part of what is called the drill movement in Chicago, and so every region in the United States has a different sound when it comes to hip hop. And so Lil Durk was really at the forefront of the drill music, which is controversial. It is very rooted in gang culture. I don't think any of us involved in the music industry, entertainment industry, realized that Lil Durk would actually have the capability to send out and put out a hit.
According to the affidavit and other federal court records, the S event stems from the November 2020 slaying of OTF rapper King Von, 26, at an Atlanta nightclub after Von and Rondo got into a fight. Records say a friend of Rondo's pulled a G and powwowed Von several times, unaliving him. Von, whose real name was Davon Bennett, had 2 hit singles, Crazy Story and Took Her to the O. Authorities say Durk made it known that he would pay a bounty to anyone who unalived Rondo, whose real name is Taekwon Bauman. Almost 2 years later, a M-word plot quickly came together. Once arriving in Los Angeles, the OTF member met Crayon Grant, who had flown there on a private jet. Grant, a top OTF associate, got the men hotel rooms, purchased 4 ski masks, and obtained 2 luxury sedan. Court record says Grant allegedly gave Jones, Leslie, and a third unnamed suspect a G, including one that had been converted into a machine. The next day, the group allegedly followed Rondo and Robinson as they drove a Cadillac Escalade to Los Angeles marijuana dispensary and West Hollywood clothing store, and then a gas station across the street from the Beverly Hills Center. There, Houston allegedly parked his car behind the station so Jones, Leslie, and the unnamed defendant could ambush Rondo. They got out and opened fire, unaliving Robertson, who was standing outside the Escalade but missing Rondo. The indictment and news stories about the S event say the suspect then went to an In-N-Out hamburger stand where they discussed payment with Grant, and then flew home to Chicago from San Diego. Documents say Wilson allegedly paid Jones and Leslie an undisclosed amount. All of this is alleged at this point, but being reported.
This was a retaliation to another popular rapper in the drill genre of music, King Von. And so this was to enact revenge against the murder of King Von. What this goes to, though, Alex, is a larger conversation that we need to be having in America is how do we address gang culture, and then how do we address the violence that precipitates within particular urban communities. Every time we have a death or a murder such as this is when we need to be thinking about gun reform, gun legislation, and how much guns are on the streets, in particular within Chicago, which has a complicated dynamic with guns because of the bordering states that they have in terms of how the other states that surround Illinois have very loose gun restriction laws and the way that guns can flow into cities like Chicago. And so I think moments like this gives us an opportunity to address how are we going to tackle the growing issue of violence within our cities, how are we going to tackle gun violence and gun reform, and then how are we going to tackle the gang culture that exists in our major cities.
The agent Sarah Cochran also wrote that on August 18, 2022, Durk's associate learned that Rondo's was staying at a Los Angeles hotel. That day, DeAndre Wilson, Keith Jones, David Lindsay, and Asia Houston, and a fifth unnamed suspect flew from Chicago to San Diego and then drove to Los Angeles using funds provided by Durk, allegedly.
Well, and Shauna, one more here, because you mentioned conspiracy earlier. How might prosecutors be looking at this OTF group that the Durk was a part of? I mean, are we going to see some repeats of what happened in the YS or what's happening in the YSL case?
Well, this one's going to be a little different because even when we look at the indictment, they already have text messages, which tends to lead me to the information that there may have been an informant because they got this information very quickly. Let's remember these arrests just happened, so they would have had to get these phone records. So if they have a direct source, we're going to see this move a lot more quickly. It cites text messages and phone calls where we can see the exact communications. So they have direct evidence already that's going to move this a lot more quickly than what we see in the YSL trial.
Gotcha. Okay. Mike Muse and Shauna Lloyd, thank you both.
That day, Durk allegedly texted an associate arranging the flights. Don't book no flights under no names involved with me. There's a video evidence that Durk was staying at a house in the San Fernando Valley that day. Grant, Jones, Leslie, Wilson, and Houston was arrested in Chicago on conspiracy to commit M for hire charges. No attorney information was immediately available for those men in court records. After their arrest, Cochran wrote, Durk booked 2 flights from South Florida Airport to Dubai and 1 to Switzerland. Then he booked a private flight to Italy, but was arrested in Miami before he could board it. Durk and the other defendants are being held pending their transfer to Los Angeles. And meanwhile, he was being rewarded for some community service he was involved with. Well, you guys let me know what you think about this story in the comments below. And don't forget to like this video and please subscribe. Thank you. Bye for now.